In both Season 2 of the show and Book 2, A Clash of Kings, Daenerys visits the House of the Undying in Qarth. This building is the headquarters of the Warlocks, also known as the Undying Ones, hence the name of the building. In the show, Dany enters the house after Pyat Pree, a prominent warlock and member of the ruling council of Qarth, kidnaps her baby dragons. In the books, however, she enters to seek the wisdom of the Warlocks, as she believes it will aid her on her journey back to Westeros. The building seems to defy all laws of physical reality in favor of warlock magic. The stair-filled maze of the interior does not at all match with its low, towerless exterior. However, what is perhaps the most otherworldly element of the house is the visions Dany saw while inside. Although these were aided by the Shade of the Evening, a potion all who enter are required to drink, they probably wouldn't be visible outside of the Labyrinthine house itself. Despite differing between the books and the show, these visions have become the subject of intense fan speculation and debate since the release of the novel and episode respectively. I'm here today to break down the most important visions and analyze how they predict the 2 books and final show season to come. Although primarily examine them through a book lens, many of the points apply just as strongly to the show. I should probably clarify that the majority of this video is my personal opinion. Although some of it will coincide with community consensus, none of it is meant to be taken as definitive fact. I encourage you to use this video as a stepping stone to further House of the Undying vision research and theory crafting. I'd love to hear some of your findings and theories in the comments below. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. The first vision shows 4 dwarves molesting and raping a naked woman. This symbolizes the War of the Five Kings and the effect it was having on the 7 kingdoms of Westeros. Each dwarf is representative of one of the 4 faction leaders still alive at the time: Robb Stark, Stannis Baratheon, Joffrey Baratheon, and Balon Greyjoy. The reason a 5th dwarf isn't pictured is because, at that point in the timeline, Renly Baratheon had already been killed by one of Melisandre's shadow babies. Vision 2 depicts a celebratory feast, but all the guests are corpses. On the throne at the front of the hall sits a man with a wolf's head wearing a crown. Although with hindsight, it's pretty obvious this was foreshadowing the Red Wedding, but you have to remember that, at the time, the wedding wouldn't take place till the end of the following book and season. Further proof that George R.R. Martin is a genius. Vision 3 is, of course, the house with the red door. I encourage you to go watch my video entirely on that subject. Skipping ahead a bit, the next vision we see depicts Rhaegar Targaryen. This was Daenerys' older brother who caused and died in Robert's rebellion prior to the books and the show. In this vision, he is naming his son Aegon and saying he is the prince who was promised. When Rhaegar speaks of the prince who was promised, he is referring to the Azor Ahai prophecy, which I tend to bring up a lot on this channel. The TLDR is that in Melisandre's religion, Azor Ahai will be the one to defeat the White Walkers and bring peace in the name of the Lord of Light. Thanks to the show, we now know that the infant son in the vision is none other than Jon Snow, whom Rhaegar fathered with Lyanna Stark. This vision further lends credence to the popular theory that Jon is Azor Ahai. At this point, the Warlocks start to spew some prophecies towards Daenerys, but I'm going to come back to those in a different video. If I explain them all here, we'd be here for an hour. The next vision I want to focus in on is of a man with copper skin and silver gold hair. He's standing in front of a city burning to ashes. Above him is a banner depicting a horse on fire. This is most likely a vision of what could have been if the child Dany conceived with Khal Drogo hadn't died during the birth process. The man has the silver gold hair common in the Targaryen bloodline, but the dark skin of the Dothraki people. His flag is a combination of fire and a horse, prominent elements of Targaryen and Dothraki iconography respectively. Moving on, the next vision in question is a dying prince. Whispering a woman's name, rubies explode from his chest as he perishes. The prince pictured is likely, once again, Rhaegar. Knowing what we now know about his relationship with Lyanna Stark, it's most likely that this is the name he utters. Believe it or not, the rubies themselves aren't very symbolic. When Rhaegar was killed by Robert Baratheon during the Battle of the Trident, his breastplate, made of rubies, was smashed, causing him to spill into the water below. This subsection of the Trident would hence be known as the Ruby Ford. The next vision depicts a king with bright blue eyes drawing a red sword. Although many believe this to be Stannis Baratheon, whom Dany has never seen before and in turn wouldn't recognize, I have to disagree. I feel the juxtaposition of colors is there for a reason. I always saw this as a personification of the yin-yang-like relationship of R'hllor and the Great Other. In simpler terms, these are the Lord of Light and the unnamed god of the White Walkers. For more information on this relationship, check out my White Walkers Explained video. The next vision is of a cloth dragon being held up and swayed on poles in front of a cheering crowd. Sorry show watchers, but unless Season 8 pulls something out of its ass, this only has bearings on the books. This is a depiction of young Griff, an important character whose arc was entirely cut from the show. I'm going to make a separate video on young Griff, but for now, here's the TLDR. In Book 5, A Dance with Dragons, a character going by the fake name of Young Griff is introduced. He claims his true identity is that of a Targaryen and that he has more of a claim to the Iron Throne than Dany due to his gender. By the end of the book, he is able to rally the Golden Company, go watch my video on them, bring them to Westeros, and actually conquer some territory before Dany is even close to leaving Essos. With this context, let's go back to the vision. A cloth dragon is a fake dragon, like Griff, an imposter masquerading as a Targaryen. The crowd cheering is likely indicative of the popularity he will have once he takes the Iron Throne. The seat is currently still held by Tommen in the books, but based on the epilogue of Book 5, I doubt this will be for long. Maybe the standing ruler Dany will have to face upon her arrival in the books won't be a despised Cersei as in the show, but a well-loved, well-counseled young Griff. The next vision is of a monster made of stone taking flight from a smoking tower. Rather than breathing fire, this beast breathes shadows. Now this, in my opinion, is Stannis. As a reminder, he's currently alive in the books. A stone monster could be representative of either his stone-cold personality or Dragonstone, which was, at the time, his base of operations. The smoking tower itself is likely Dragonstone as well. Dragons breathe fire, which leaves smoke. The shadows the monster is breathing are likely symbolic of the age Stannis is receiving from Melisandre. Melisandre is a shadowbinder who creates shadow babies to carry out assassinations for Stannis. For example, we saw one kill Renly back in Season 2. In turn, this parallel seems to make the most symbolic sense. Skipping ahead a bit, Dany sees a corpse standing over the prow of a ship. The figure is smiling, his lips revealed to be gray. In hindsight, this is a pretty easy one. It symbolizes Euron Greyjoy. You have to remember, however, that Euron wouldn't be introduced for 2 more books and 4 more seasons. Grey lips smiling, Greyjoy. Why a corpse? Because he was drowned and brought back to life by the Drowned God. The ship shown is likely the Silence, Euron's signature longship. Why is Euron relevant to Dany? Because right now in the books, he sent his brother Victarion, a character not in the show, halfway across the world to bring her to him as a bride-to-be. This vision has implications on the show as well, since he's working directly with Cersei to defeat Dany. Last, but definitely not least, we are shown a blue flower growing out of a wall of ice. This is how George secretly revealed Jon Snow's parents 4 books ago. Remember, Jon's parents haven't even been revealed yet in the books, but since guessing who they are was the test George made Dan and Dave take to get the rights to the show, it's going to be the same. You see, Rhaegar first confessed his love to Lyanna Stark at the Tournament of Harrenhal. After winning, rather than giving the ceremonial flowers to his wife Elia Martell, he rode right past her and gave them to Lyanna. This is seen by many as one of the inciting incidents of Robert's rebellion, since Robert was betrothed to Lyanna at the time. The flowers in question were, you guessed it, blue. Since Rhaegar and Lyanna would go on to conceive Jon Snow, the use of this flower in the vision is clearly indicative of him. If that wasn't enough, the flower is growing out of an ice wall. What else would this be other than the wall, which Jon would become Lord Commander of? There you have it, the important house of the Undying visions explained. It's clear that what Dany saw all the way back in Book 2 and Season 2 has not only already had a stark effect on the narrative, but will continue to impact the story in Books 6 and 7 as well as Season 8 of the show. I hope this gave you a little taste of what to expect in the future, while also serving as a case study to the geniusness of George R.R. Martin's writing. But hey, opinion is opinion. This entire video could turn out to be completely incorrect, we'll just have to wait and see. I want to know what you think. Am I an idiot? Am I a genius? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, if you have any questions after watching this video, drop them down there too. If you enjoyed this video and like to see more content of this nature, feel free to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. For updates, sneak peeks, and Game of Thrones shitposting, follow me over on Twitter at Prof of Thrones. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Professor of Thrones is here to teach you.